Up rising, we're rising up. Up rising, we're rising up. Up rising.
Hello, everybody.
Love it.
So I'm your host, Eyde Arndell, and my illustrious co-host, Scott Free. And our guest tonight is Justin Beth. Welcome, Justin. How's it going?
Great to be on the show with you, Eyde, and Scott. It's going okay. It's been some times,
Yeah.
Wow.
You just think about like how time flies, and I mean, a little over 5 years ago, right? We were going through COVID, and then we had the great chance to have Joe Biden as our president for 4 years, and now we're on the brink of we had this crazy election where it was just a real smack in the face to the Democrats, and now we're on the brink of World War III. So it's been some times.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. So here you work with ranked choice voting, and you were a Bernie delegate.
Yeah. So
wherever you want to start on that, those two.
Sure. I mean, I'll tell you way back in 2000, I was in college at UMaine, Orono, here in Maine, and I was not interested in politics at all. My background is in, my degree is in engineering and physics.
Yeah.
So, but I remember seeing Jello Biafra speak at UMaine, and he was talking about the election coming up in 2000. And he was actually at that time, I don't know if you remember, he was running against Ralph Nader for president for the Green Party nomination.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, Jello Biafra from the Dead Kennedys, right?
Right.
So
I'm a huge Trump fan, so yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for cluing me in, you guys. I know the Dead Kennedys. I didn't know the numbers.
Some educational music there. I mean, very prescient. Some of the songs, very revolutionary.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think Jello's become a solid blue Dem, though. It's the Trump derangement syndrome, has taken his brain as well.
Yeah.
That just breaks my heart.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, saw Jello Biafra, and I think I saw Ralph Nader, a couple times speak, but I just really wasn't into elections. And but the 2000 election, when Bush got elected and started the Iraq War, I was really feeling like I got to do something, and so I started paying a little bit more attention, and I think I even helped out a little bit on Obama's campaign in 2008. And I really didn't know much about the Green Party at that time. Somebody asked me to, but fast forward to 2015 and Bernie Sanders, and really sparked, my interest in, here's a candidate, to really get behind. So I volunteered like crazy. I ended up becoming a national delegate for Bernie.
Wow.
And went to the convention in Philly. I was on the inside, and it was depressing because it was just the vitriol that we received from all these like high-powered Dems, and it was just all the stuff that you've heard about. It's like with the super delegates, and like how they really stole the election from Bernie. And it was actually at the convention I saw Jill Stein. She had gotten inside to do an interview with RT America.
Nice.
And, so I ended up walking out of there with a Jill Stein sign.
Wow.
Done.
So Let's Talk Lake County says, I love
Yes.
And then Sip Sauce says, hey, Eyde, Scott, Justin, and David in the chat.
Hey.
Oh, I love that graphic, Sip Sauce.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Ariel Cyprian, love you. Thank you so much for mentioning me for the show here.
Yes,
we're going to be talking a little bit more about you here soon. So anyways, going back to, what led me to here, right? So Bernie Sanders delegate, I walked out, at the coronation when they coronated Hillary to the press tent. And, but it was, there were all sorts of other plans that we were trying to do, and to try to disrupt the convention a little bit, but nothing really seemed to take hold. So, we did the walkout. And then, I've always thought that if the people had, the half of the convention that had continued to walk out and into the Green Party, Jill Stein, could have done something amazing in 2016 right there.
Mhm.
I mean, just those followers from Bernie alone. And as actually saw recently, the speech that Bernie gave at the convention, where he's like, no, we got to, we got to prevent Trump from getting elected. We got to support Hillary.
I just
And
saw that today.
it was the boos. It brought back memories because I was there booing too. And, booing Bernie was great. So, sorry, go ahead, Scott.
No, I was just going to say, people are talking about that now, especially since his letter that he put out yesterday.
Oh, the letter fart, or
that we, hinting at starting something new.
I can't remember the person's name, but the letter that I've seen talked about, it's the same person. It's like Brant or Bart or something like that. Hi, Bart. Anyways, we can talk a little bit more about that. I mean, I think that's a total scam. Another grift by Bernie.
And really what it did was it really brought up that history that you're talking about. You both saw the videos, that was the moment. That was the time in American history that he could have changed America, and he chose not to.
Yeah. And it's such a loss. Jill offered him the nomination, right? Whether or not she could have given it to him is hard to say, but he could have been her running mate, and it could have been a joint ticket. Would have been amazing. Oh, thank you, Ariel. So anyways, that led to me joining the Green Party. I helped out on Jill's campaign with the remainder of 2016, and I kind of officially joined the Maine Greens in 2017. Got more involved at my local, the chair of the Portland Greens for a time, on the state committee for some time, and with the electoral committee. So, and then also I've served as a national delegate to Green Party United States, and had a brief stint as a co-chair from the end of 2018 to 2020.
Wow.
So that's a lot.
A lot of things, but that's the thing. It's I think SIP, or you guys call him SIP, or I call him Ariel. Ariel's doing a ton of stuff, and it's like I remember those times. He knows I've slowed down a little bit, but compared to in the past, I was doing all sorts of different things, and I think people they jump in sometimes, and it's like they're trying to do a lot of things, and we do need some time to recuperate. So but I see in Ariel like the exact kind of energy we need to bring into the Green Party, people that have skills that they can share with others, that can help us do these organizational things that we need done. And so we'll talk more about Ariel and what I'm working on right now. Actually, that's maybe a good segue.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't feel like we were done bashing Bernie yet.
Well, we can go back to bashing Bernie.
Can we go back to bashing a little
anytime?
Yeah.
But
so I watched Sabby Sabs today. I don't know when she posted it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was last night. And does Bernie want to start a third party? And she read the email to her audience, and he's hinting at it. But I'm like, that to me seems like opposition to what we're trying to do, because he always goes back to the Democratic Party.
Right.
And like you said, if he would have walked out of 2016, And even if he had to give them all the money he had gathered, because I know they make them do that, he could have said, I am no longer a Democrat for president. I am running as an independent. He got those $7 in, and I think he would have been president. Yeah. I'm very disappointed in him because he's done it to me twice. I worked unofficially on the campaign in 2016, just telling everyone. And then in 2020, I actually volunteered and knocked doors and everything for him. And up until he said, Joe Biden is my friend, I was in. And as soon as he said that, I almost threw something at my television.
Yeah.
And I still have friends back in I was in San Diego for 20 years. I still have friends back there that still support him. Oh, he's fighting for the people. I'm like,
oh God,
where?
I know.
Where is he fighting for the people?
Yeah,
now
well,
that the election's over.
And you know,
it's safe to say these things.
I can't remember who he said it to, but he was asked, why didn't you do that? That was your moment. Why didn't you do it? And his response was, I don't want to end up like Ralph Nader.
Yep.
And that is just the worst of the worst. I mean, that just shows. So career really was the important thing for you. That's what counted more than all of the principles that you had supposedly had.
You mean beloved?
Yeah. No, he needs his little nice cushy job. Yeah. I mean, that's just.
If I can add to that, so recently, right there. So let's talk about this letter, and I think it's an op. I think it is to keep people from coming into the Green Party.
Right.
It is our revolution part 2. In that letter, he never talks about starting another party. He asks the question, can the Democrats become the party that we want?
Yeah.
He's like, but I don't think so. But he's like shooting a shot across the bow, whatever. And he's gonna say, can we support these independent candidates? Which is what he tried to do with our revolution, right? And it's total bullshit. And it's just leading people away from the Green Party, keeping them away from the Green Party, which is exactly what we need to fight. And so bring people in as we are. I mean, we placed 3rd nationally in this election cycle, beating out the Libertarian Party for once.
Yeah, we did.
Right.
And the Libertarian Party, by the way, people tout that, well, some people say that we've been around for 40 years with the Greens. In truth, it's only been about 20 years, 24 years since, we really established ourselves as a party in 2000.
Okay. For
ballot access purposes. And the Libertarian Party's been around for 50 years.
Yeah.
Right. So give us a break.
That's amazing.
Going back to Bernie Sanders and what he showed to me in those moments was he lacked political courage. And that's why I believe that, I mean, the person that I see the most political courage in ever is Jill Stein, without a doubt.
Yeah, right.
And, another person that's recently come in to criticize the Green Party right now is, somebody that I have a lot of admiration for, but I'm really getting quite fed up with in some ways. It's Chris Hedges. And I'll tell you a little bit something about him. I know that in this past election cycle, we had a great slate of candidates coming out of New Jersey. We had candidates in every single congressional district and the Senate race, and it was the Green 13, which I know you guys covered that here on Illinois Greens channel. And interestingly, right, Chris is in New Jersey, and I know for a fact that in 2020 he was approached about running for Congress, and he was almost going to do it, but he then said, you know what, my job at Russia Today would be in jeopardy, because he had a job there as a journalist, and I cannot run. And he was approached also in this cycle, and I know he's very close to running in this past cycle with the Green 13, and it would have been a huge deal because he's a big recognized name. He lacked the political courage to do so, and he does not know as much about electoral politics and the difficulties of the infrastructure and ballot access and all of those things. I think he should stick to what he knows. I think some criticism of the Green Party is fair. I think we need to self-reflect, but for outsiders that want to take pot shots without having been in the struggle of a small party and to operate nationally and the challenges that faces, it's really disingenuous. So
Yes.
why not get some Greens that can talk about the Green Party from their experiences rather than have people guess about what it's like here?
And
Yeah,
lie.
you know,
Yeah, well,
you guys
yeah.
can feel it.
I kind of feel like he was the one that talked Cornel West into trying to be the nominee.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little, inside baseball on that front.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I have great respect for Chris Hedges' reporting and his career. I think he's an incredible person
Same.
and a wonderful journalist. But he doesn't know the Green Party. You have to be inside it to understand.
Yeah,
what's happening here. I do have a comment. I want to not skip our comment.
Sure.
Verixania, the problem with his calculations is he thinks doing one good erases several errors. I appreciated him bringing a bill to stop weapons to Israel, but he could have done so much more for Gaza. And it's too little too late. I mean, everybody got excited about that. And I knew it was going to fail. It's just, I'm burnishing my record. Look, I got it to the floor. One more comment.
Quick side note: Verexiana is going to be running for U.S. House in District 10 in Illinois in the next race. So, thank you, Verexiana.
I saw that interview. That was great.
Yes, amazing. She's amazing.
Bernie got derailed by the DNC before the primary when Hillary ran. I remember that.
It was.
I mean, just as an outsider, just watching, I remember. Wasn't it WikiLeaks that leaked the emails that said that John Podesta and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, they were all colluding with Hillary to keep him from getting the nomination?
Right. And then when
and then the next day, do you remember the next day? That was when they released the Trump thing with Billy Bush.
Oh, right.
Ooh, don't look over here.
And then when the Bernie Sanders supporters sued the Democratic Party, and in the court, the Democratic Party said, "We're a private company. We pick who we want."
Yeah.
That was their defense.
And that's one of the things I've talked with about people about why go green. The Democratic Party primaries, for the most part, are ways to block people like good progressive candidates from getting on the ballot. Look at Nina Turner in Ohio, where they did that to her twice, right? Keeping her off the ballot. Dennis Kucinich ran as a Democrat for I think it was
against Barack Obama in 2008.
It was mayor. Dennis Kucinich ran for mayor in Ohio, and he was I think he lost in the primary, right? Even though he had been a member of Congress and stuff like that, and very popular, right? Very progressive. And but why participate in the Democratic Party primaries when it's just a tool to keep people out? I want to go back to something you mentioned there about Bernie Sanders and the recent resolution that he tried to pass in the Senate to do an arms embargo, right? And so I appreciate Bernie bringing this forward to have the vote on it, but I do feel it's a little bit of a thing to kind of repair his name after coming out so strongly for Biden, then Kamala. So, but what I'd like to focus on is the results of that vote in Congress and why we need to run congressional candidates. So I think it was 18 people that senators that voted with Bernie for that resolution. That means there's 82 senators that need to be replaced.
Yeah. So you're worth the GCCC, right?
Yeah, so that's basically what I'm working on right now. And again, the segue, we came back full circle. So currently I'm working with the Green Congressional Campaign Committee, and it's very exciting. We are focused on congressional races, U.S. House and Senate. And we had over 40 candidates in this last cycle. Granted, we didn't give as much support as we would have liked to have for all the Green candidates that were running. Those were just the Green candidates that we knew of. But, we went through this process of interviewing and adopting them essentially. but we needed some interaction with, filling out the questionnaire for us and stuff like that. So we do a little bit of vetting. And so we want to help candidates get elected. And our primary means of doing that in this cycle was because we kind of had a late start, finding a treasurer for the committee. And we did a little bit of fundraising and raised a little bit of money. And with that little bit of money, we actually did some great stuff because we ran some advertisements for 5-6 candidates around the country, targeted YouTube ads for their district or state. And we really lucked out. A fantastic person that has become involved with the committee. We had a great candidate, Chester Todd in Wisconsin. And did you guys have Chester?
I don't know him, but I'm a big fan. I follow him on all the socials, and he's great. He's totally great.
So his campaign manager is Pete Karras, and his daughter Hallie is for her line of work, she does digital advertising, and so she's an expert at this. And she was kind enough to volunteer her time to help us get started with doing some advertisements. Because I was like, that would be great if we could run ads, and but I didn't have those skills, and nobody else really did, and it just really clicked. And we got ads up very quickly after that. I want to also again recognize the skills, the talent of Ariel, who was basically our field person, and going to meet with candidates, get some video shots, put together some really fantastic advertisements for these candidates.
Nice.
And it had good impressions for our candidates. We had a high view through rate. So really fantastic work, primarily with Ariel and Hallie. And we want to do a lot more of that. In the meantime, right? Congressional races coming up, right? We're already looking at 2026, and we need to also kind of keep our eye on 2028. Mm-hmm. Lots to do. Yeah. So right now, again, the focus is our congressional candidates, and we got a lot of work to do to find the candidates. I mean, we already have who's the candidate in District 10?
Oh, that's
Alexandria. Keating. Is it Keating? Sophiakis. And I don't say it with a Greek accent, so I'm
gonna have to practice that.
And we do have some comments. DNC primaries are held only to have candidates run against the party to make way for Israeli accepted picks.
That is very true.
Yes.
I was shocked. I mean,
Eric Sania says,
yes, I know Jeff is the best. He is amazing.
Did anyone win from the Green 13?
That's an interesting question.
And yep, you got it.
So did anybody win from the Green 13? Election night, and this is great because again, that was one of the things we wanted to talk about, was like a recap of the election.
Yes.
So I know a lot of us were watching as the results were coming in, and really got a lot of excitement for some of us watching these races. And Ben Taylor,
okay,
who I don't know, if District 5 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
He was one of the Green 13 in New Jersey, right?
Yeah, he was with the Green 13 running for House, and he showed in the results like 52%, and we were like, what? And Christina even was posting something. Christina Khalil posted something about, well, we have our first House member elected to Congress, Ben Taylor, and then it was like, oh no, it's an error. And so there was an error in the reporting supposedly for that race. We're
going to investigate this.
I get the feeling that there are a lot of discrepancies with the vote counts. Jill Stein.
Here we go.
Sorry.
No kidding.
Did you have another?
So he's District 9. Yeah.
District 9.
Ariel says.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with him. I can't remember what show he was on. I usually watch Bad Faith and Savvy Saps mostly.
Mhm.
But he said he had 50,000 votes, and then they went away, and then they
Yeah.
came back, and then they went away.
Yeah.
Oh my
I-
God.
So and
you know,
and there was reports here in Illinois of she was District 13. Somebody that she knows went to go write her in. They didn't have a write-in spot on the ballot, and they just said, "Oh, just write it down there." And then our guy Scott talk
Yeah,
about your
I mean,
experience.
Yeah, so I was actually in charge of the petitioning for Joe Stein in Illinois, and we were not successful. But I happened to also be an election judge, so I was there for 2 precincts to kind of see what was happening. Now, my precinct, I kind of volunteered to make sure that all of the write-in candidates were counted. And so the way it works in Illinois is that if you filled in any of the write-in dots, it goes into a little separate section. Then you have to hand look at them to see, are they, approved names. And if they're approved names, you put them in a separate envelope and they go hand count them. So I was doing that for mine because I volunteered because I wanted to make sure it was going to be happening. But then I went over to the other precinct. They had both precincts in this one huge room, and they were completely unorganized. I went to look at the envelope. They had written 0 on the envelope. I was like, you guys. So I went in there, checked the ballot. Sure enough, there was a couple, and I made sure they got in there. But it's a really if you're a writing candidate, it's brutal because they don't take that aspect of it seriously.
No, they
Even
don't.
Even at the training, the guy was making a joke of it. They're going to write in Mickey Mouse. So
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
The whole write-in thing and the ballot access, right, being so difficult. For those that question if the Green Party is doing something or not, they wouldn't be resisting us and opposing us so hard if we weren't on the right track, is the message I'd like to put out there.
Absolutely. No, that was actually.
We have a question.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I have a question. Is the county clerk able to certify a vote before every vote has been counted? Because the Lake County verified the election results and I still don't see my vote in the write-in list. That's an excellent question. I don't think we have an answer.
Make some phone calls on that one. Yeah, we do not know the answer to that.
See, so that's why we need to be on the ballot in Illinois. And we've been kicking around different ways to make it more fair. I mean, what is it? If you're a Dem or a Republican, you need 3,000 signatures from a party apparatus that has money and people and everything you could ever want, because they're paid by billionaires. But if you're independent or a new party or anyone else, it's 25,000.
Yep.
And then you have to also, double that at least, because they're going to kick out half of them. So really 3 times. Then that's not even assured. So
the key to it is to have dedicated people that are willing to make the signatures when the time comes. That's, I was stressing that here in Maine. You want to hear crazy ballot access stuff for here in Maine?
Okay. Yes, please.
So we have basically you register with a party when you register to vote if you want to. So party affiliation. And it doesn't cost anything, right? We don't have dues necessarily in Maine. That's a whole other subject. But so people fill in a circle. They want to be a Democrat or Republican. We're the Green Independent Party in Maine. The Libertarian Party wasn't even an option for a little while here in Maine. They lost their ballot status or party status here in Maine. We have 40,000 Greens registered in Maine. And which is a lot. It's one of the highest registered Greens in the country for a state. Now for ballot access though, when we go out and get signatures, say for a state house race, it's only 25 signatures, but they can only come from registered Green voters in that district. So, and we actually have a fair amount in each district. It's maybe like 100 Greens or so. So their greens are out there that we can get the signatures from. But the U.S. House race is 1,000 in their district, 1,000 signatures from Green Party members only. And, for the longest time, we didn't even know who was registered as Green in these districts because we didn't have full lists from the state. So you can't go on a street corner and say, hey, can you sign here? And we only have like 13 weeks or something like that to get the signatures.
Right.
It's not long. And, it's like I can't at a shopping mall say, hey, are you a registered Green? It'd be like 1 out of 20 people. And so you'd have to go door to door finding these Greens. Hopefully their address is right. So it's a nightmare. So we have a hard time running candidates for congressional races here in Maine. And in fact, in 2020, we ran Lisa Savage. She had to run as an independent. She had to get number signatures, but she didn't.
I remember that campaign.
Yep. And really exciting thing in Maine, we have ranked choice voting for those races.
Right.
So it really it sucks because ballot access is hard for us because again, getting 2,000 signatures for a Senate race of only Greens is difficult to do. So I encourage states like New York and Illinois, where the thresholds are very high, get your names of people that are willing to sign when you're ready to sign.
Yeah. I mean, I think there were two kind of main issues that I thought in the process. I was hired halfway in between the thing already, so I got a late start. But I also think, I saw the 2016 Green Party campaign for Jill, and it was an amazing operation. It was amazing. And unfortunately, the Illinois Green Party just has lost a lot of active members over the years. And so I feel like when 2024 came with Jill Stein, there wasn't the people. And so I was out trying to get people in, and then we ran out of time. Now, to me, the most exciting part of running the volunteers for the petitioning was just pretty early on. We realized we were, just because of Trump derangement syndrome, we were going to have the best response with Palestinian, Arab communities, Muslim communities. And so we targeted those places, and I was just amazed. I've never done like petitioning where people come up to you and hug you. It's like, because they understood this was the only anti-genocide candidate on the ballot. And so it was kind of emotional actually doing it. And I mean, I certainly don't regret it. We failed at our goal, but it was an amazing experience, really. Just, and that's the other thing. I know we're going to kind of segue into Jill's campaign. I was so thrilled by what Jill Stein did because from my perspective, like I'm a YouTube channel person and I watch all these shows, and these people they're too cool for electoral politics and yeah, right. Oh, right. In 20 years.
Jill Stein beat Ches Salvador. First time a Green has beat a Libertarian in 20 years. And
it was just amazing to watch these people, Jill Stein, win them over. I mean, Nick Cruz and RBN, he's the hardest of the hard, and his riff with Cornel West was just unbelievable because Nick isn't going to take any shit. He's just not going to take it. And so he wasn't having Cornell. He saw Cornell for a lot of BS, and he wasn't going to take it. And sure enough, he was convinced to go with Jill, and that says so much about Jill's character, really, that she can, she won over Sabby and Brianna Joy Gray, and none of those folks were necessarily with her at the beginning. Without a doubt, they weren't.
And Shama Sawant.
Yeah.
Which I was already a fan of hers. I love what she's done
a really
in Seattle.
Interesting one. I mean, that's a brutal one.
So
I want to wring her neck.
But then you want to kiss her on the cheek.
Maybe you have some insight into that. I would love to talk to Jill about that whole thing.
So let's talk about.
I want to go to Seattle.
I think we all should.
Yeah,
I'm hoping to go to Seattle for that. Yeah. So let's talk about the Cornel West
Yes, please do.
entry into the race, right? And he started off with the People's Party, and of course that famous event where Chris Hedges basically explained that he had been talking to Jill, and Cornell was going to go with the Green Party. So at some point, I mean, even though Chris Hedges now is kind of trashing on the Green Party a bit, obviously saw that Cornell wasn't going to have a shot with the People's Party, which it was nothing of a party, right? They had, it might have helped him out. I mean, because, he ended up running as an independent. And if he had stuck with the People's Party, he might have had the state of Florida in the bag for ballot access, right? Mm. But, it's just like he just threw it all away when he left the Green Party. So I was helping out, like I was asked to contribute to help with getting the Green Party started in Alaska again, so we could get ballot access for Cornell there, and I made a contribution for that. The Aurora Greens was started there, but then they stayed with their, with Cornell, unfortunately. And I don't know how we ended up getting ballot access in Alaska, but we did get it for Jill eventually. But one of the states I also helped out was an early ballot access effort was Arizona. So I actually flew out to Arizona to help collect signatures out there. Jill was like trying to get a bunch of people to rally to help get signatures. And so I toured around Arizona and met a bunch of Greens. Eduardo Quintana, who ran for U.S. Senate, I stayed with him in Tucson area. Cody Hanna, who's there in Chandler. Just doing my part to help get some signatures there. And interestingly, right, Rick Lass, who was the ballot access coordinator for Jill's campaign, he saw the need to get on the ballot in Arizona, so he invested in it. And part of that was some paid canvassers. So this was for the Green Party of Arizona, and it was to get Cornell West on the ballot at that time. Then basically Cornell at towards the end of that my stay there in Arizona, Cornell had made the decision to leave the Greens, and I saw to some extent there were some influences in there in the campaign that were kind of steering him in that direction. And his partner, his wife was basically one of those factors. Nina Turner, Peter Dow, I've had some mixed thoughts on, but I don't think he was necessarily. He kind of just went along with the decision.
But Nina was involved or influenced Cornell to leave?
I think so. They really misrepresented how easy it would be as an independent, and it showed at the end of the day. Maybe on the state in 10 ballot or on the ballot in 10 states. So it really made a poor decision, and those signatures for the Arizona Green Party, was sitting there now, and it's like, well, Cornell couldn't use them because it's for the Green Party of Arizona, and if he was the candidate, so he invested. A lot of money was invested from the Cornell West campaign to get Arizona on the ballot, and which turned into Jill Stein being on the ballot there. And really, Alaska was 3 or 4 electoral college votes, and Arizona is 11. So it was a more important state, and most importantly, out of that ballot access effort, we were able to get Cody Hanna for state legislature, Eduardo Quintana for U.S. Senate, and a couple of other House races there. And so it was really, we made out with the better deal in that exchange. And, it's so weird the way it worked out. And, I think we kind of dodged a bullet with Cornell, because I think there was the who was the Russian that died?
Verkov. Oh no! I know who you're talking about. Right, he was in jail.
Yeah, he was a political prisoner,
Right.
died in jail,
Right.
and Cornel West was putting him on the same platform as Leonard Peltier.
Yeah.
And
Sure. Yeah.
and it's like no comparison.
No, that's a really interesting, I'm glad you brought that one up, because it really shows. Now, I'm not Mr. Super Expert, but I've been out studying this stuff for about a year, and I knew that one. I mean, right, a year, and I knew that one. That was like a basic. Everyone knows that he was a CIA plant. He was funded by the CIA.
Oh, here we go.
Everybody knows that. What are
Alexander.
you doing, Arndell? What are you doing?
Thank you, Rexian. So yeah, I mean, I think we dodged a bullet, and there were other things, but it's unfortunate because I mean, I also believe that we do need kind of, higher profile candidates
Yes.
with name recognition.
Yeah.
A lot of people were very excited.
Oh, I was thrilled.
But I mean, that's why I jumped on. I'm like,
Yeah.
Cornell and the Green Party, yay.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
no.
It sounded great.
I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I'm already
And
I'm already in. So, and another thing that he did that I thought was just showed his lack of intuitiveness about how to run a campaign. Although I think he's probably a great guy. I've never met him. He went to Scotland or something for a month to do these talks. I can't remember where it was. And I'm like, you're running a presidential campaign and you're going to leave the country and stay gone for a month during it. I'm like, oh no.
The celebrity candidate, I think it is. I mean, it would be a way to really do well in these elections for us, but they're hard to work with. They like, oh, I'm going to do it my way, and it's like, well, you don't really know. You should listen to us that we've been through this process for ballot access. We can help you get there.
Yeah, it's a give and take. It's a compromise.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you're great, and this is how it works, and we're here to help you make it work well.
Exactly. So it's really unfortunate. And I think we've talked about the 2024 election a little bit. There's so much more we could talk about it. See, leaving to go to, what was that last one? Leaving to go to Scotland.
Leaving to go to Scotland during a campaign sounds like something Trump would do.
Well, so I'll mention this because it kind of is, on topic with that. So I mentioned to you guys in the prior to getting on the live stream here in the backstage that I was actually involved. I was one of those Greens in 2020 that was hopeful that Jesse Ventura would get into the race.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually in conversation with him and trying to get him to join the race for president. But the thing is, he wanted to do it his way.
Yeah.
And knowing what I know about ballot access, it's like, we were like, you can't do this. It's not going to work. And he was like, oh, I'm going to announce in May. And that's, already a lot of primaries have occurred. And, I mean, we ended up getting some delegates to show up at the convention in 2020 for him, but it was ridiculous. And then at the end, of course, Jesse was saying, well, if they want to, if you guys just want to give me the primary, or the nomination, I'll take it, but I'm not going to do any work to get it, and it's like, it's just as bad as the DNC giving the nomination to Hillary, right? So,
or Kamala.
Yeah.
Right.
And, but, so Jesse, like, again, part of the reason why he didn't want to start until May was because he was actually in Mexico, he's got a house in Mexico. That's what he does in the winter.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to bother, starting up a campaign until May. And then, when he actually did put out the tweet to say he was interested in running for president, which got a ton of views and likes on Twitter. And he actually polled at 18% in a nationwide, I can't remember if it was like a Newsweek poll or something like that.
Yeah.
Just on saying, hey, I'm testing the waters, and then RT America, Russia Today, gave him a call about his show and said, we're going to drop you if you run for president.
Right.
He gave him the ultimatum, and he's like, I can't lose my health care, coverage for the family.
Right.
And that was his big excuse. We would try to work through it and say, well, we could get you COBRA health insurance coverage. And he's like, he just kept throwing the kitchen sink at us, whatever obstacle we try to work around. But in the end, it just kind of dodged a bullet there too, right? Because Justin's kind of gone on the farm for the Democrats too.
Right.
I think he probably supported Kamala in this past election because he's Trump derangement syndrome too.
Right.
So
No, Jill Stein was the right choice. There's absolutely no doubt. She did amazing things with her campaign. Really, she did.
Absolutely.
And she stepped up when she was needed.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm hoping everybody that's watching will do.
Right.
Because we need people to join us.
She's the reason the Green Party is growing right now. Without a doubt, it's Jill Stein is the reason why the Green Party is growing.
What do you think about Greens running for local offices?
Absolutely.
Can I go back to the growing the Green Party? It's not necessarily Jill Stein.
Okay.
And hear me out.
Okay.
A lot of people refer to Jill Stein as the head of the party, and that's not true. Right?
No.
We know that the Green Party of the United States, there's a steering committee with 9 members that kind of put out statements sometimes not great, right? They help manage the various committees that we have, and then most importantly, we have the National Committee, which is really the kind of organizing brain, right? 150 state delegates, to the National Committee. They're the decision makers, right? They help us get our platform in order, right? So there's all these, that's really the leadership of the party. If you would say it of anybody, it's the 9-person steering committee.
Yep.
But people tend to think, oh, this person is their candidate. They're the leader of the party, and that's not really the way it works.
I hope you didn't think that's what I meant. I meant Jill stepped up. No. So everybody around, everybody watching, and all your 10 friends, please step up. The idea of that Jill is growing the party, I would say, first of all, the Green Party, right? It has been for Palestine, throughout this, prior to, October 7th and years before, right? Since the Green Party's existence, right? We've been for human rights, including Palestinian rights. And so Jill Stein is a great embodiment of our platform, right?
Right.
Puts it into action, right? For electoralism. And that's what we need. We need our candidates to go out there and really say, hey, we're running for human rights and living wage jobs and Medicare for all, right? So right now, I hear this, there's a lot of talk about the Arab American, Muslim American community coming into the Green Party, in which we need them to come in. And again, if people had followed the way Muslim voters in America, right? I think a recent CARA poll had them at like 58% for Jill Stein.
Right.
If that had happened across the country, Jill would be president, right? So, and don't get me started on the whole viability of candidacies, right? If a candidate is on the ballot in enough states to win an election, or on the ballot in an election, they are viable candidates. If they can get the votes to get elected, they are viable. Is it probable? That's up for debate. But viability is really, can they win? Is it possible, the numbers for them to win? And for Jill, absolutely. She was on the ballot. She was in enough states and in enough states to win over 500 electoral college votes. And you need 270 to win. Absolutely viable. Bernie was 0% viable, because he wasn't on the ballot in any states in the prime, because he lost in the primaries.
And I think you bring up that point. That to me is the most important. When I say the Green Party is growing, and I don't know of any other time when a specific demographic just completely ignored all the propaganda, all that crap about, oh, they're not possible, they can't win, blah, 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 blah. They just ignored it, and they voted for Jill Stein because it counted to them.
Absolutely.
And so that's what it is for us Green Party folks too. It counts for us. It hurts our heart when we see these dead Palestinian children, right? And so we were not going to vote for that no matter what.
Mhm.
And the
Absolutely.
thing is, it's just, I mean, I am so props to the Muslim community for just
Well,
doing that and just, no, we're going to stick to our guns and we're going to vote for who we believe in. That's really strong. That's an amazing feat that happened.
you know, so it's interesting. I think again we do need to bring in the Arab and Muslim Americans um, into the Green Party, and really embrace their coming into the party, because we are the party for them, but we're the party for many diverse groups that are underrepresented in our society, in our government. And the growing of the Green Party right now, but the thing is, you look at it, and I recently heard, well, they're doing it amazingly with the Arab and Muslim Americans, but they're not doing it with a Latino and Latina Americans,
Latinx,
and
yeah.
Latinx. They're not doing it with Black African Americans, and it's like we are for reparations, right? Which kind of is getting a little bit more traction. People are more knowledgeable about that we are for reparations.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the reason why, Arab and Muslim Americans came out so strongly for us is because Jill was a viable candidate to possibly win the election. And what they're going through right now, the complete erasure, of their families, is so traumatic that of course they're going to forget about Biden and Harris and Trump, and but some of them ended up voting for Trump just out of spite,
Yeah.
Which is so sad. But
Just to make sure Harris lost.
Yeah.
We do have some comments. And Jill got 0.6% of the vote. How do Greens react to that? I got a comment for that.
Yeah.
Well, despite all the propaganda and the war room from the Democratic Party that was equal to Jill's entire campaign funding, they just spent that just trying to take her down. They sued her off the ballot. They hired infiltrators. They probably still are afraid that we're actually going to get this thing going. That makes me want to do it extra.
Right.
Well, the 6%, the 0.6%, still came in ahead of the Libertarian Party, right?
Yes.
Which we'd never done before.
Right.
And I think the vote totals for Jill are significantly suppressed. In Arizona, Eduardo Quintana, who was a U.S. Senate candidate, got 62,000 votes, and Jill got 14,000 votes. In New Jersey, Christina got upwards of 45,000, maybe 50,000 votes, and Jill got 14,000, 15,000 votes. I think that happened in Michigan as well. And in Texas, we had our statewide candidate, Eddie Espinoza for Railroad Commission, got 200,000 votes. Jill got 15,000 votes, something like that. It's a proportionally smaller number. And I think there was some vote suppression going for Jill in these
There
states.
is no doubt, that they come up with 0.6. So they've included Illinois. There is no doubt that the numbers in Illinois are not true, because I watched the process happen. They just didn't even care enough to go in, because that is a hand count. It's a write-ins with a hand count. So the numbers are suppressed in Illinois tremendously. So, yeah.
Going back to the whole thing again, Arab and Muslim Americans coming into the Green Party, if there was something traumatic going on for the Latinx community, maybe they would act the same.
Yeah.
If there's something traumatic going on for the African American community, maybe they would act the same. So these different demographics, why doesn't the Latinx community come out for the Greens? Like the Muslim community did? And it's I think that is the thing. It's we are the party with the platform for those groups.
Right.
It's just, they're not in the same crisis that the Muslim American community is in.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we're about to.
My prediction is that we will be fairly soon with climate catastrophe, because we see it now. We got hit. The first big one hit us this year. They've had big ones across the world, but we finally had our first big one, and that was North Carolina. And so those and the fires. I mean, so I think we are going to be in a desperate situation. And and it's funny, I think of all these other, there's a whole other topic of left unity would love to get into. We would have time.
We don't have time. We'll have to have you back.
But I do feel like in my exposure to these different realms, the Green Party is the place to be. It's just the right place, because in a way, it's almost like it's an open party. So Eyde and I really just got involved very recently. And now we're kind of like, we're not running the show, but we're making it happen, right? And it's like, it's there for people to complain about the Green Party. It's there. All you got to do is join it. You can make it what you want it to be, because it has such an open realm to it. It's not.
We welcome you.
Even if Bernie was serious about starting another party, it would never happen in time for 2028. Yeah. And that's what they don't realize. The Green Party has the basis for any party for the left right now, and to throw that away is throwing away millions of dollars. Yeah, and the left does not have that extra money, because we're working class folks and people have to put food on the table and keep a roof over their head. So I think the next steps are going to Seattle in February with the worker strike back. DSA is a big letdown in my. I mean, you kind of mentioned something positive about DSA helping you with the banner.
Local.
Carbondale
DSA.
But worker strike back. I think we do need to be a party that is more connected with labor. I mean, granted, that whole thing is a kind of, there's a lot of insider stuff going on with labor leaders, with the Democrats, right?
Yep.
Need to break those ties.
Right.
And, so I think that, Shama Swant talking about a party for workers, we are that party.
Yeah.
And
right next to it.
I think we need to talk about how we can actually materialize that here in February, and it's bringing in the Muslim community. I mentioned earlier, right? We've got 82 senators that need to be replaced that voted against the arms embargo. Yeah. So right now we got to field candidates in 2025 for the local elections, right? Yes, for local elections. In Maine, our local elections start in like the spring, so it's happening. Like we need to find those candidates right now. But the thing is, in Maine, people they're registered Greens and they're gonna run for office anyways. We have over 70 Greens in office right now in Maine, local level.
You have 70 Greens in the state of Maine.
So I was doing research. We didn't even know how many we had, and I was doing research because, like, they're registered Greens. They run for school board in Brownville, and it's like we had no idea.
So that's when when I was kind of just semi-involved, maybe in 2020, I just went around and I made this chart, this graphic of everyone running for U.S. House and Senate. And it was this big graphic, and I just kind of sent it around. It was not official from the Green Party. Some people got mad at it because but internal politics. But we need to do that. I had no idea. I've been in the Green Party for years. I didn't know there were 70 Green Party.
We don't even know all of them yet.
That needs to be a national campaign, because that's the one thing that we get yelled at. Oh, you just run Jill Stein every 4 years. You should do something local.
No, the media goes away every 4 years. Ariel says if Bernie was really serious, he would just join the Green Party.
Right.
He's not serious.
Exactly.
So
obvious.
Let's see. Emil, Bernie, and AOC.
Bernie and AOC encourage them to join the Green Party. No response.
I think right now, again, the focus, the event in February, bringing in the Muslim community, finding candidates. By the end of 2025, we need to kind of have an idea who's going to be running for Congress in 2026, right?
Yes.
What seats we want to contest. And, hopefully with the GCCC, the Green Congressional Campaign Committee, we'll be raising some funds. Please follow us on X.
Yes.
And
what's a website that they can go to?
Oh, Ariel, what's the website? No, it's I think it's gccc.us. So anyways, let's see what else. Getting ready for these elections, growing the Green Party in the meantime. There's a lot to do, and we can't really slow down a whole lot. It's there's a talk right now. Are we best suited by running more candidates or running less candidates and being focused in getting those, wins? I would say we need to do a little bit of both. We need to run as many local and state level candidates, I think, as possible. Run some choice federal level races. But we win in Maine in this past election cycle. We won 75% of the races we were in 2024.
Wow.
For municipal offices. And it was like 21 out of 28 or something like that, something like that.
That's a vote for doing a lot of candidates, because that should be publicity. That should be national publicity. I mean, we need to be spreading that everywhere.
So I advocate, running as many as we can for the municipal and state level offices. Granted, it's harder. Some states, it's easier to do that in Maine, right? In some ways than it is in, say, Arizona or New York State or in Illinois. So I think we need to really get our hands around what does it take for each state to be successful, to run some candidates and get some wins, and tout those victories more, and really push back against the narratives out there. Those narratives are coming from the Democratic Party that wants us to go away.
Right.
And they say it on Twitter all the time. Go away.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like us? We must be doing something right.
Exactly. If you know anybody that wants to run for governor of Illinois, please let me know.
Illinois, yeah. No, they said that was the first time the Democrat or Republican Party had done a campaign against a third party, an actual campaign. And it was $1 million campaign in Michigan against Joe. So,
it's interesting. One of the points I made, and I think it proved to be true, and you can look at the state of Nevada for this. I made the point that by keeping Jill off the ballot, right, more votes are going to go to Trump. Because if you take away that option, and like there's these abandoned Biden or that became abandoned Harris voters, and they could go for Jill or Trump, you want them to go to Jill, not Trump. If you take away that option, I mean, that's like these abandoned Harris voters that were Democrats that should vote for Democrats, right? According to Democrats,
right,
is now going to go to Trump. That's increases the vote margin by 2,
right?
It's away from them and to the Republican, where it could have gone to Jill's side and only increased the margin by 1. So
there were 2 separate polls, Newsweek and Politico, both said that taking Jill out of the equation helps Trump. Yep.
So it's the Democrats shoot themselves in the foot all the time doing things like that. Actually, I'll leave you with one. I guess we're kind of close on time.
I'm okay to go over, by the way.
You okay to go over?
Okay.
Yeah, I can keep going.
We have lots of people watching. Please like and subscribe, and then share this live stream.
Wow,
wonderful conversation.
Grateful to be here with all these people. Lots of love to all of you watching, and I hope you're inspired to get out there and do what you can. Right, we each have different skills, and we need everybody's skills.
And I do have one more comment. Hang on.
Oh, sure.
like to see a montage of all the candidates across the U.S. who are in office or won this
Right.
year. We need to start making our wins
Absolutely.
visible.
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
a great idea.
Yes.
That's going to take a lot of research, though. Again, it's
But we got to do it. That's
Mhm.
absolutely.
yeah, that's part of
So
the propaganda against us. So
that's what I'm talking about. So, like, let's get a small team together to say let's find the candidates that won or ran this year and get a picture of them and get that out there. Absolutely. So yeah, talking about the Democrats shooting themselves in the foot again, kicking Jill off the ballot, having the options only be Trump or Harris, right, is screwing them. In 2020, we had that Senate race here in Maine. And we had Lisa Savage, who was running as essentially as an independent, but really with the Green Party here. And we had ranked choice voting in that race. And the Democrats, interestingly, so they had their candidate who was the Speaker for the House for the state of Maine, her name Sarah Gideon. And then we had Susan Collins, right, who has been elected many times, has decent support from both Democrats and Republicans, right? Because really they're the same party. We know that.
Yeah.
And so anyways, it was, there was another independent in the race who was kind of a wacko. His name was Max something. Anyways, interestingly, what the Democrats did, and I've got a picture of this, they put these signs around the state of Maine, or it was Trump Collins signs. So they were like, you know what? If we tie Susan Collins to Donald Trump, it's going to really hurt Susan Collins in the election. And so they put these signs all over Maine. And Collins easily won. And it was just like, but they said paid for by the Democratic Party of Maine.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you guys insane?
Right.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
to me, a really good example was that Breakfast Club interview with Jill, because they had the Democratic operative there to try to cut them down. And I mean, Jill is talking about reparations. And I mean, it was amazing. That was an amazing event. And the comments, they were just completely for Jill and against the rest of the Breakfast Club. I mean, she got so much publicity from that.
And
then,
Butch.
And then the Democratic Party sent the questions to the African-American interviewer.
I can see his face. I can't think
of
his name.
He used to be on Channel 11. And then
now
I know, right? Like someone in the chat, help us.
Hopefully I'll think of it before the end of the interview here.
That was another great example of the Democrats will try to do anything.
Travis Smiley.
Thank
you, Ariel.
Travis Smiley. Yep. So it's interesting. I was talking with Sabby Sabs ahead of the interview for on the Breakfast Club, and she's like, "Is this for real? Is this going to happen?" And I was like, "Yeah," and it's going to be a sabotage. They're going to try to tank. That the only reason they allow her on the Breakfast Club is to try to tank her.
Right.
And it did backfire. Absolutely.
Big time.
Beautifully.
One thing I will say is I don't think the Democrats care if they win or lose.
Well, that's true.
Especially at the national level, because they're going to be just fine. The rest of us won't be, but they're going to be just fine.
You look at the candidate, the cabinet of Trump, and you know that he was approved. They decided it was okay for him to win because look at that cabinet. It could be a Democratic candidate cabinet. It kind of doesn't matter.
Well, and the same goes the other side for Harris too, right? She had Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney supporting her. There's no difference.
No,
right?
It's going to be they're going to be neocons. No, and AIPAC funded neocons. That's all you're going to get, no matter if it's Republican or Democrat.
Another thing. Let's talk about AOC for a second. I don't know if you guys recall.
This is spicy.
This is spicy indeed.
Yeah.
That backfired too, right?
Yeah.
A number of times.
I got on there and made a comment and changed the words around with using her same language. It was great. On Facebook, I commented. I said, "This is kind of spicy, supporting a genocide is kind of wrong or whatever she said.
Right.
I just gave it back to her.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Have you guys heard the name Roger Meadows? He's close with Sabby Sabs. He's really into ballot initiatives. In fact, he's really a party abolitionist. He wants direct democracy through ballot initiatives, and it's something I've been working with him, talking with him about. Working on ballot initiatives in tandem with candidates. So. Running people for elections, but also running for ballot initiatives. And, right now there's a lot of states where we don't have the option to do ballot initiatives. So we want to try to find candidates to run for office so we could get that to happen in those states.
Right. In Illinois, they're non-binding. So
yeah.
Point.
Well, we're still trying to discover what we can do.
There are some things that we could do to make them binding, right? So basically to make it an amendment. You can do amendments to the state constitution through ballot initiatives. Okay. So that's but we need people at the state legislature to do that. So that's why we need to get Greens elected, right? And, Greens or leftist independents that are willing to do that.
Yep.
But so going back to Roger, so when AOC was coming out and attacking the Green Party, and Roger and I were talking a little bit about some of these interviews that we saw with there's a candidate that ran for a Green Party candidate that ran for state Senate in New York.
Okay.
In 2018, I think. His name was Jabari Brisport.
Yes, Brisport, of course.
And he ended up going to the Democrats later. Yeah. But at that time, he was a Green. And I was just newly into the Green Party. And I was talking about our candidates running for office. And, and I came across this picture. It was from a tweet from AOC. And she told me flyer for Jabari Brisport.
You're the one who found that picture?
Yeah, so I had it. Basically, I download stuff to my phone. So back in 2016 or 17, or 2017 or 2018, I was like, oh, here's this picture of AOC. And I'm like, I'm going to download this because I might share it in another post or something like that. And I shared it with Roger after this whole thing with AOC. I'm like, oh, she knows about Green Party candidates. Here she is with them. And the thing is, so Roger took that and he dropped it on Kit Cabello. Hardlands Media. You guys have Hardlands in. I would love it if he would have more Greens on and stuff like that. But he does a great job. I do love his show. So he dropped it on. He shared it with Kit, and Kit exploded, and it was like a big thing. It was on fire, and so it was like this. It was me. I can show you it on my phone. It's but then somebody came up with the actual tweet from 2017 or whatever, or 2018, and so it was out there. It's just you had to dig back for it, and AOC, here she and I didn't want to share that necessarily that she was supporting Greens. I kind of didn't want that picture to get out, so Roger shared it. I was like, I just shared it with you just to say look at this.
But it was beautiful.
No, it shows how disgusting a person she is, and people need to know that. They need to know the character.
It's disingenuous.
She is a corrupt to the core.
We do have a comment.
I mean,
Verixania, you can tell from their electoral analysis, the Dems aren't doing everything to win. No serious party would look at these results and decide they need to move further to the right.
Right.
Well, can I say something to that? There are many opportunities in certain states for us to really challenge the two-party system and get some Greens elected. You look at certain red states that are solid red, where the Democrats don't even try to run for office there in those states. Those are huge opportunities. If we could find the right candidates to run for a federal office in, say, Tennessee or Kentucky or something like that, Missouri,
Nick Cruz said how he lives in Missouri and they vote red like crazy, and yet their ballot initiative, they raise the minimum wage twice. Yeah. So people do want the things that the Green Party offer. They do.
Yeah. Well, It's interesting though. I think about this sometimes. Like, what's our level of engagement with the party, right? And what capacity do we have for engagement? A lot of us that are really here doing this, right? We are volunteers to the core, right? And we're out there doing as much as we can. But there's many people that are like working class that would support the Green Party, but they just can't. They got working 2-3 jobs, right?
Yeah.
They are trying to keep a home, a roof over their head, literally, and or they're not, and it's like, so,
And here's another thing.
Oh yeah.
Yep. They did
that
that one as well.
Right.
So, but the thing is, like, so how do we have this party infrastructure in Missouri to really say, okay, these are the candidates we're running to challenge, the 2-party system here, and I think we got it. The idea is like bringing more people in, right? And that does open us up to this idea of infiltration and stuff like that. But if we want to be a mass party, we need mass organization, right? And we need to bring people in. We need to properly utilize people that want to volunteer. Again, bringing people, embracing their skills for what they have, and giving them some direction to apply that to, this electoral strategy. And, so it's, I think the opportunity is there, right? And, again, we're going to see this significant influx from the Muslim American community, and we need to embrace it. And and really help them grow the Green Party into something more beautiful, right? Let's take their input and really implement it to make the significant changes that it becomes their party, right? And something that the Democrats would never do, right? So
they wouldn't even let them speak for 2 minutes, even
though
that woman from Georgia was running as a Democrat. We have 55 people watching. Can everyone please like and subscribe and share the live stream, please?
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
So yeah, I mean, again, lots of work to do here coming up. The there's huge amount of opportunity in the upcoming elections. I think it's another thing about having well-functioning state parties, right? And that's another thing, right? We talk about like starting up a new party. Well, you need to build state infrastructure in all these states, and we already have that here with the Green Party. But we understand that those are not where they need to be. But throwing that away completely would be absolutely the walking backwards, right?
Foolish.
When we need to keep pushing forward.
One thing I'd like to, go ahead.
No, Scott, go ahead and jump in.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, it's a little bit side, but I know I'm RBN obsessed, and that's Revolutionary Blackout Network, by the way.
Yeah.
But I actually think that, the state, let's see, he's in Missouri, Sabby's in Massachusetts, JB is in Florida, and Rome is in Michigan. So those 4 Green Party states should be doing like mutual aid events, because they're very big on mutual aid, so tying in with them. So I think that's going to be my own personal goal, is to reach out to those 4 state parties and say, hey, let's try to co-sponsor things with RBN, because I do think that that's kind of the future. As the mainstream media dies, they are absolutely coming up, and a lot of these folks are really, really on point with their ideas. I mean, Nick's a little anti-ranked choice voting, but but for the most part, I mean, Sabby's incredible, right? She's just completely, she gets it on every level. And even like Rathbone, I don't know if you follow him.
Yeah,
he does those wacky things on TikTok, and they've been amazing. And now, of course, the deep state's after him. But even him, he was not electoral politics at all. At the very end, he was like 5%, 5%, 5%. So he gets it. I mean, he's coming from a little different place, but right. And an independent party needs to get to 5%. Should be the Green Party, but because that's the first major step to get us in. And so a lot of people get it. They get it on different levels. Due dissonance. They were anti-electoral politics forever, and they still don't really like the Green Party. But they were like, but the Green Party is going to be with the workers' strike back in February. And we did vote for Jill Stein in solidarity with Bandit Harris. Good enough. That's good enough. You can say crap about us all the time.
So there was something that kind of set us back a little bit there at the start of the election cycle with Jill coming into the race, right? With Cornell dropping out, and people pointed to Peter Dow, right? Oh, yeah. And they said, well, Peter Dow can't be trusted, etc., right? And she brought Peter in. I have some mixed thoughts on Peter, but overall, my impression is that he's left the Democratic Party solidly. I don't think that's even a question for me. Right. What exactly happened there with Cornell? I'd love to talk with Peter. Peter, if you're, catch wind of this, I'd love to have another conversation with you about this. Yeah. But, I think we need to accept people changing their viewpoint, right? I was a Democrat in 2015, 2016, and I came to the Green Party. You were supporting Bernie in 2020, Eyde. Right. And it's like, we have to accept people growing and allowing them to change to have a more clear view of what's really going on. Yeah. Because, what we're trying to do is we're trying to open people's eyes. Yeah. And then say, hey, you open your eyes, but you were a jerk to us in the past, so we can't allow you to play with
your
us.
eyes are open. Let me see. Okay,
I was a massive fan of Jimmy Dore for years. I was one of the early hardcore Jimmy Dore fans. And what he did it with the Dow thing and criticizing Jill Stein for somebody that she knew, and then he just writes her off completely. I mean, if you're going to have that much incredibly smart critiques of our system and then not get behind somebody who is fully on board with all of our points, something else is going on there that I don't follow him anymore, even though I know he's doing great content. It's cheap. It's really cheap. It doesn't.
I think.
Yeah, I was very disappointed.
I think part of it is, Jimmy, after 2020, right? It's interesting, right? I was only burned once, and I'm proud of that. Yeah. I won't be burned ever again, right? And I say burn with a BERN.
Yes, okay, I got burned twice. Burn
again. So in 2020, Jimmy Dore was still on the Bernie Sanders plantation.
Oh wow!
And because they thought, he could win the primary here this time. But
I didn't go for Bernie in 2020 at all. I ripped him off. Yep.
And so Jimmy, after that election, we had first in 2016 the operation was Justice Democrats and Our Revolution, right? That's what kept people from joining the Green Party, right? They had these other vehicles to keep people from engaging with the Green Party.
GYT.
Yeah. And then in 2020, it was Nick Brana and the draft
People's
Bernie.
Party.
Yeah.
And then when that failed, he went to the People's Party. Yeah. And Jimmy Dore was still like on that idea of Bernie Sanders, right? And supporting Bernie Sanders and like the idea of drafting Bernie.
Yeah.
Right. Forcing the vote came out around then, Stems, and which was a great idea. I think that was a good thing.
Totally great.
Well, I was with March for Medicare for All. Yes. I was one of the co-founders.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That was such a good movement too. But it's like so Jimmy really became enamored with Nick Brana, having him on the show all the time. And I believe Nick Brana is an op, I think his mission is to keep people from joining the Green Party. Yeah. That's why start another party, the People's Party, right? Yeah. To again, divert organizers and people from going with Greens. Ultimately that failed disastrously. So I think that's part of where Jimmy went off track, right? With Nick Brana, and Nick instilled a lot of disdain for the Green Party, right? I'm sure Nick was always in his ear about that. I appreciate a lot of Jimmy Dore in the past.
He does good work. He does good work.
But it's like he really didn't have the critical thought to be independent from this person that was being very persuasive to him, saying the Greens are a waste of time, etc. And then I think that led to then when Peter Dow came on board and it's like, oh, he's an infiltrator and etc. So I think there's a lot to peel back there, but it's I think we do need to allow people that once they open their eyes, and that's what we're trying to do, let's accept that as a win.
Tweets are great every single day. I read his tweets every day. They're fantastic. They're absolutely
Peter Dow?
Yeah. Peter Dow, I'm sorry.
Yeah. We have some more comments here.
Sure.
I actually voted for Tom Steyer in the 2020 primary.
Oh, I remember.
His answer that climate change is the biggest threat to our military, not Russia or China, really impressed me at the time.
Well, except that the military is the biggest threat to climate.
Yes,
that's number one. But you are right. It's not a wrong statement. But yeah.
Or nuclear war. And we have 60 people watching. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Wow.
You wouldn't leave. I just want to hang out. I know you have some more to do.
Well, do we have any questions from other questions?
Yes. Do you think the requirement to pay monthly dues to be a Green member is an advantage or an obstacle?
Oh, that's a great question. And we touched on it earlier, right?
Yeah.
So in Maine, that doesn't work very well.
Okay.
At the national level, we've had these conversations with the Green Party of the United States. Should we demand dues in all of our states? Now, the problem with that is, again, in Maine, you register to vote, you pick which party you want to be registered with, right? So Green Independent. You can't then say to that person, one of the 40,000 Greens that are registered in Maine, we need you to donate at least $5 for dues. Yeah. That's just not going to work, because people register their party preference, become a member of that party. We can't enforce dues. They're gonna enroll with the Democrats or the Republic, or somebody else, or as an independent. So, I think it works in certain states. Yeah. I like the idea of encouraging people to be sustainers. Call it, the branding, I think is, could be done better in a way that it's like, no, this is a voluntary thing that you are doing, and we really do need it, but understanding too, it's like people are strapped these days. Right. So I think we do need funding mechanisms to the question there, but I don't know if dues are the right way, but certain states use them, do employee dues. And
we have it here now. Certainly the registration, I mean, I am probably registered as the Democrat from like 30 years ago. That's not an important issue in any vote that happens in Illinois. It just, you just pick the ballot you want for the primary, and then, so it's not even a thing here. And we do have dues in the Green Party. Now, I've kind of taken over as the first point of contact for the volunteers. And I saw that when it was started, that was the first thing they talked about. And I'm like, oh, no. So I don't bring it up, because I feel like somebody should pay some money to join a thing once they really decide, okay, I really want to be in this. I don't want to, turn people away because they suddenly, oh crap, I got to pay for this. And now we do have low income level, so it's not, but that I certainly don't emphasize that at all as people are just starting to get involved, because to me, that's not the point. I mean, once you're involved, then you would want to give, but you got to find out what it's like first.
And there are other ways to make money. I mean, that's a great way. And maybe it does need rebranded. I kind of agree with you. Thank you for bringing that up.
The
merch and hats and t-shirts and tabling, and there's all kinds of things you could do.
dues come out of like, people that are more involved in like a socialist, Marxist kind of ideologies, right? And the idea of unions, right? And you're a union member, you pay dues.
Right.
But it's not exactly, it shouldn't be looked at as the same thing, I think. And, I think, the good point here that's being brought up is every state is different. And we really need to be thoughtful about how each state has its different unique challenges. And, be like, I don't know, I use this analogy sometimes. We have to be like ninjas, right? Where it's like flexible and we need to be able to, adapt to whatever state's challenges are. And, that's the thing about getting people involved so that people know more about their state. We need a core people in Illinois we can go to say, hey, what is the status? You know it better than anybody else, but how can we help you? Can I say one other thing about rebranding here? Because we talked about the rebranding of this idea of dues. A lot of talk now is about, well, could the Green Party, in fact, there was a great interview with, I think, Brianna and Jill and Brianna and Sabby, talking about the Green Party, and the Brianna Jill interview was about the critiques that Chris Hedges was labeling, putting on Jill. And, is it possible that the Green Party is the party for, labor and all these other issues, which we are? Again, it's in the platform. But they're like, well, the branding is terrible, and there's so much that needs to be restructured with the Greens, as far as the branding goes, and kind of early on with the People's Party, I was trying to, I actually talked with Nick Branna a couple times, and some other, of the initial organizers with the People's Party. And I was like, there's no point in creating this other party. And they're like, well, the name is terrible. And I'm like, but the platform is great. You agree with the platform. It's Bernie Sanders' platform times 100, right? So you wanted to draft Bernie. Here's a party that is Bernie, why aren't you backing it? And so he's like, but the branding is terrible. You're known as an environmental party. And it's like, but it's so much more. And that's what we do need to educate people on that. And so talking about reparations, now known as a party that is against genocide and for human rights, Palestinian rights. Right. Or against war, and as far as the branding name of the Green Party, it's interesting, right? At the national level, I don't think we're going to be able to change it, and we just need to expand people's minds to saying, hey, green is okay as a party name, and the key thing is that at the state level, we do have some options, right? Because we have state affiliate parties, right? That are part of the umbrella that is Green Party of the United States. But in Maine, we're the Maine Green Independent Party. In Massachusetts, it's the Green Rainbow Party of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
In West Virginia, it's the Mountain Party.
It's the Mountain Green Party.
That's a really good point. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I hadn't really thought about it. But like this logo right here, right? The sunflower.
There it is.
Right. I got it. You're right. I could see where some people would say, hippies, And in fact, when I did my own design and it just says Green Party, but it's that slime lettering. So it's green but it's slimed. It all comes down, because I was like, and I would joke with people, it's the Green Slime Party. And the thing is, I do think you make a good point that we could, through graphics, Ariel, are you listening? To give it a new persona and just keep it away from the daisies and the stuff, so that we can give a different type of image to it. I mean, the Palestine flag is wonderful, right? That helps to move it in a different direction. And you know what I love about the green, I mean, it sounds so stupid, but I love in the national polls, I didn't even see any Jill Stein this time, but I wasn't watching TV too much. But I loved that, you know, the Republicans are in red, the Democrats are in blue, and the Green Party's in green. I mean, it's set up perfectly, right?
Yeah. And, you know, I again, I don't think there's any problem with the name Green Party.
Yeah.
No.
You know, and to be honest, like, okay, since we're talking about this, the you know, the Democrats have their mascot, right?
Yeah.
It's the jackass.
Yeah.
And I, you know,
Yeah.
rather than donkey, I
Spitting.
emphasize jackass, you know.
Yeah.
And the Republicans are the elephants.
Right.
I think our animal, if we were to be represented as an animal, would be the turtle. I think that would be great. That would be my vote, is for the turtle.
The Green Turtle
now-
Party.
And the reason why, partly too, is because of Turtle Island, right? But I don't want to adopt that if that's gonna like appropriate something from the Native Americans of Turtle Island.
Okay.
So that would be my choice, but I don't want it to be an appropriative kind of thing.
Okay.
So we have some comments that are coming in,
Oh, sure.
coming in hot.
Let's see.
So yeah, Ariel said Green Mountain Party.
Yeah.
Yeah, in West Virginia. How about removing the donation cap? $3,300 doesn't amount to much. You can still vet the donors to make sure they don't have a mere corporate agenda.
So can we go to that question about the $3,300?
Mhm.
So that's a FEC donation limit for individuals, right?
Yes.
So we have no control over that as the limit. However, I want to point out something about those kind of donations, though, in this election cycle, and it's very interesting. So $3,300 is the limit. Yet you have Beyonce, you know, a statement saying that she donated $20 million to Kamala.
Right.
And
right.
it's like, you know, Stephen King or whoever, you know, I think there were a couple of other big celebrities. Oprah, right? A cool 10 million, 20 million, whatever.
Well, the billionaires. I mean, the billionaires have run this campaign, right?
And
Yeah.
so what's interesting though, how can they be allowed to donate over $3,300 when the
Right.
Federal Elections Commission limit for an individual contribution is $3,300? Well,
Hang on.
So
Ariel coming in with a great idea as usual. We should encourage people, if they want to donate more, to donate to the state parties and committees, such as the GCCC. Look
absolutely. Well,
we have
so
lots of comments on what the logo should be.
the
If
well,
we're going to go
hang
down
on,
that
just
really quick.
the
sorry.
the whole thing with the $3,300 though, it's like what the FEC does is they just slap a fine on them for say like $5,000.
Right, which is just
So-
a tax.
You know, it's like big. That's chump change compared to the
Right.
20 million I just got from Beyonce. You know,
Right.
it's
Nothing.
But
so it's going to
it's
come out of
also
that.
street cred. I mean,
It's
for
ridiculous.
Greens.
We need to campaign finance reform needs to be a thing that we run on as well, like getting money out of politics, campaign finance reform, and a fair democracy where we can have candidates on the ballot.
Yeah.
What are the questions about the logos?
Oh, so love the sunflower logo. It fits Illinois being.
Yeah, I think,
things
but
in
I was.
agriculture.
I mean, I like it. I do like it, but I think that he makes a good point about trying to move away from that concept because,
hippies.
well, I think that we have a hippie brand on us that it would
Yeah.
we would do better to move away from that brand. That's all.
I
Here's
brand,
another one.
we have a brand of old white people too, right? Old white men. We do. The Green Party is a brand of old white men, and that's
Well, we definitely need to change that.
yeah.
So the hoopoo bird.
Oh, right. That's
Yeah.
right. He was talking about that.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
Yes, you're right. Butch had that.
So,
Yeah.
so again, I think the branding of the Green Party, the name itself, is going to be something that's difficult to change because of the infrastructure we have.
Yeah.
Right. But again, we do have some flexibility with our state parties.
Mhm.
Right. And
Yeah.
so in New Hampshire, we don't have a Green Party there. I'd like to start one. I'm hoping to talk with some folks,
Wow.
get that going. And the choice of the name is going to be important. And I'm going to encourage to not use Green Party in their name, right? But that we become affiliates of the Green Party of the United States. Make it something that is impactful for the state of New Hampshire, right?
So you don't think keeping green, because wrong one, sorry. There are, it's international. There's greens.
But
I
you
mean, they may
wouldn't
not be, the greens like we are. But
Well-
it's a worldwide movement, and we should be proud of that.
Well, so I think, again, at the state level, it doesn't matter. I mean, we have the Green Party United States, which is the affiliate organization. It's the umbrella, right? And, so whatever the state affiliate that we've chosen to bring in, they could have whatever party name. I mean, it's interesting. There's this whole dynamic of decentralization, right, too, where we allow some autonomy for our different state parties, which is helpful in some ways, but hurts us in other ways, right? There's talk about vertical integration and how from the top to the bottom how we're integrated and aligned, and sometimes that decentralization that gives some autonomy to our state parties also kind of hurts us. But I think that needs to be worked on a little bit more. But again, let the state party, Mountain Party, be the name of the party. I mean, it doesn't matter. Okay. And in some ways, it might help. Like in Maine, we're called the Maine Green Independent Party, and that actually we lost ballot status briefly, and we had to change our name when we regained ballot status, and so we added Green Independent Party. And you know what? When people go to register to vote and they check off the box for the Maine Green Independent Party, they'll check off the box and they'll circle independent, and they think they're registering as independents.
That's good.
That's part of the reason why we have our 40,000.
So in New Hampshire,
Illinois Green Independent Party. I like it. I don't want to ditch green. And sorry. Talking about the donations. Yeah. So Ariel had something to say. I like it too, but we also need to be cohesive across the country as well. It builds trust. There is actual science backing this.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to vote, I would say have green somewhere in the name. Yeah, that to me is.
But we can play with it. So down here in Carbondale, the reason I was a little late coming to backstage is because we just reignited our Shawnee Green Party.
There you go.
Which is most of Southern Illinois, apparently.
Nice.
Yeah, and we like the Sasquatch. That's for you, Yvonne.
There you go.
Ariel helped me come up with a cool logo. I left it in the car, but it's a Sasquatch flashing the peace sign.
Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, the next election cycle's coming up here. One of the big things at this conference in February, I think, is going to be what direction do we go for running candidates? Focus on a few select races, or again, run as many as we reasonably can. It's interesting. In Maine, again, I know Maine better than any other state because I'm here, organizing here, and we have 16 counties in Maine. How many counties do you have in Illinois?
Oh my gosh.
No idea. 105, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. Well, when we did the I worked with a couple of people doing the declaration of intent for Jill Stein.
For the writing campaign.
Contacted 108 people.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
We have a lot going on.
So, it's interesting. Like in Maine, and again, every state, that's why, we need people to know their states and what's best for them.
Right.
So, we have 16 counties and we have 2 congressional districts. And one thing I was like, in order for our congressional candidates to do better, if we could have 2 Greens running in every county, we'd be doing very well, right? For a municipal office or a state legislative office, that would be 32 candidates in every election cycle.
Wow.
Right. Which would be great. And then, imagine, like, I really look at it synergistically, like, in order for the federal level candidate to do well, they need to have candidates underneath that they can go visit in the district.
Yeah.
So that's the idea is, and, in 2026 and 2028, the federal level candidates that we have, I think, really need to be more unified to have, like, the reason why you need to elect us in whatever state we're in is because we are going to be a voting bloc that will force the vote every single time. Right. And, it's part of what Kashama Swan speaks to as well. We are there to agitate. It's like we're not there to play nice with the Democrats or Republicans.
Right.
We are there to say no, to vote no every single time.
Yeah.
Except if it's for yes for an arms embargo. So it's I think we need to push that as, like, if you want the leverage that you want, if we actually want to materialize that, we need to get this slate of Greens elected. And, as, Roger Meadows is talking about, again, for ballot initiatives, we really do need to get some candidates elected at the state legislatures so we can push for ballot initiatives.
Yeah.
And going back, one other thing, it's kind of related to that. I see us, like, really needing to do not just run candidates. We've been criticized for not doing enough mutual aid. And hey, we got people saying that we need more direct democracy and ballot initiatives. And I think we need to do all 3 of those things.
Right.
And get out in the streets. All 4 of those things.
Getting out in the streets. That's what I'm trying to push here a lot, is that we get involved in the protests of the different organizations around town. Well, the whole state. I'm in Chicago. But because we need to network. We need to make more contacts and relationships with people so that when the time comes, they might not be in the Green Party, but they will support us,
Yeah. And it's like walking and chewing bubblegum. You can do 2 things at the
I
same
have a
time.
question for you.
Sure.
So how does getting on the ballot work in Maine? Because you live in Maine, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How does it work there?
Okay. I kind of covered this a little
like
bit.
1,000 signatures or so.
So it depends on what office you're running for.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Okay.
Let's say U.S. House or the presidential, like at the federal level.
I'll take you through some different.
Okay.
So at the municipal level,
okay,
the getting on the ballot is based on the municipality's rules. So in Portland, Maine, it's I think it's 300 signatures you can get from anybody though, and they're nonpartisan races. So that's another thing that's, in most states, municipal races are nonpartisan. So you get signatures from anybody and you need like 300. Compared to state representative, you need 25 signatures, but those can only come from Greens, registered Greens. And again, you have to go track them down, or you can register people into the party and get their signature then. And that's part of the reason why we got so many Greens in Maine as well. For state Senate, it's I think 60 signatures only from Greens. U.S. House, it's 1,000 only from Greens.
Oh, wow.
And U.S. Senate we have 2 congressional districts, so it's 1,000. 1,000. It's 2,000 signatures. And if you run as an independent, it's double that. So it's 4,000 signatures you need to get as an independent, but you can get them from anybody because you're not tied to a party. And it's a long story, but we tried to get rid of that. But our current state chair, one of our co-chairs, really shot us in the foot with that. And that's a disaster I don't want to go into right now.
That's okay.
But we could have gotten a relief from that requirement that they can only be Greens signing for us. So when Lisa ran in 2020, we were trying to get the 2,000 signatures. She realized she wasn't going to get the 2,000 signatures as a Green from only Green Party members. So she made the choice to go as an independent. We still supported her. If she got elected to Congress, she would have re-enrolled as a Green. And so she basically had to get 4,000 signatures then. And we ended up getting 9,000 signatures in one day for Lisa Savage because we get
Wow.
and so interesting in Maine, at polling places, you
How
can
did you
actually
do that?
like, we have tables set up for ballot initiatives. So people coming out, that's one of the best places to get ballot initiative signatures is at the polling place. People are already voting. They're there for politics, and it's like they go vote, and then they're like, "What is at the tables here that I might sign for ballot initiatives or for a candidate?" So Lisa had her candidate signatures there at on the exit from these polling places, and people were just signing. She got 9,000 signatures in one day. We did have a good team that was out there at different polling places. So so she was on the ballot as an independent, and let me just say that interesting thing too. Again, we need to be adaptive and really recognize the different states' needs. In Ohio, we don't have an Ohio Green Party ballot act, a party status there really. Same thing in New York. So we have to run candidates as independents, and we have to be okay with that, right? It's going to be part of the thing to get to the next level for the New York Greens or the Ohio Greens. And in some ways, that is kind of more appealing to people too. But the what else was I going to say with that? We just need to kind of really kind of accept that in certain states we're kind of we have to work with what the situation is.
Yeah.
I actually think it's more important that we advertise our successes than it is which particular state they happen to be in. I mean, I think people have no idea that Greens are in office. They have no idea.
Yeah, and again,
so no matter what state it is, we should be pushing that like crazy.
Yeah. Again, we won 75% of our races here in Maine this year for the municipal level.
That is amazing. Yeah.
Our major stumbling block here is just trying to get on the ballot because it's incredibly hard.
The ballot access thing for the presidential candidacy here in Maine, we can nominate by convention. So luckily we don't have to go out and get signatures for Jill. Otherwise we would not be able to get her on the ballot.
Right.
But again, I think part of the thing is we do need to again, in certain states, identify who's going to sign well in advance. And hold them to that, and if possible, have like an event where people come and sign and they can do a potluck. Again, like building these, like doing these multiple things, like getting your list of people that these people are going to sign. When we're ready to sign, and we're going to have a big event. It's going to be a big fun thing. We're going to have a potluck and mutual aid, right? We're going to have clothing donations. We're going to have these ballot initiatives here that you can sign for, and et cetera. And make it all
do the prep
work
work.
together.
Yep. Right. No, that's excellent point.
Yeah. Alexandria is going to need over 30,000 signatures to get on the ballot.
Yeah, out of one district.
So we need to figure out how that's going to work, and we still got to follow all the rules. But like showing up in green and just showing up to things, I think is important because that builds your relationships with your community.
Right.
Another part of the petitioning process that I've tried to instill in candidates, and I think it's important, I'll give a little bit of criticism to the sign campaign where they viewed the ballot access and petitioning as the what you have to do before you start campaigning. But I think it needs to be considered part of campaigning on the other hand, because this is your first contact. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of this. Like, you need really 3 points of contact with a voter to get their vote. And so in Maine, kind of going back to talking about Maine elections, for a municipal election, Portland City Council, we in 2021 we elected Anna Trevorrow here, who was a longtime Green, who'd been on the school board for a number of years, and then decided to run for city council. And her district is actually larger, like in Portland, is larger than a state representative district. Usually, so there's like 10,000 people in the district, but usually in state rep districts, it's 6,000 to 8,000 people.
Wow.
And like the best way to win elections, and this is where we also need to look at our capacity for volunteering. Like the operations for Bernie, right? You had people knocking on doors and phone banking and doing all those things. And we need those 3 points of contact. So the first is a conversation at the door, canvassing, a follow-up postcard, and then a get out the vote postcard. And that could be your 3 contacts with that person, that voter, to get them to come out and vote. And we're really missing that. It's we and COVID made it harder to go knocking on doors. But with Lisa Savage's campaign, it was a social media campaign. And I mean, she was on the debate stage, which helped, but still wasn't enough, because you really do like that. I remember one time canvassing for Bernie Sanders in 2015 or 2016, knocking on a door in New Hampshire. And I remember I was walking away, it was a poor family. They were saying, I told you that the first person that came to our door, to reach out to us, we were going to support, and I like this Bernie Sanders guy, so it's, they really do want that political engagement to show that, somebody cares about them.
Right.
So, and that's where it comes into play. If you have Alexandria, if you want to run a more competitive race, encourage candidates to run for municipal and state level offices right now, or in 2025 municipal offices, and then in 2026 when you're running, so you can have a lot of candidates running underneath you that you can then go to visit their districts and work on certain key issues, and together. I think that is the winning key, and for people to see that there's this this strategy going on. They'll have like a point of contact in each of these communities that make up your district. So not only are you helping them win races, but they're helping you win races, because when they go knock on doors, that's one less door that you need to knock on.
Right.
So, and I think that's like the ticket. Again, that's why in Maine, I'm like, we got 16 counties. Let's run 2 candidates in each county. And that way they're there to help out Lisa Savage running for Senate.
I would say show up at the 2025 polls. When people are coming in to vote for city council or whatever, just show up and just say hi.
Right.
Alexandria I've got over 300,000 voters in my district, so I'm starting door knocking for my campaign by February next year at the latest.
Yeah,
that's great.
And then hopefully people will be familiar with me by the time I need their votes for ballot access.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she says, thanks for the advice. Well,
thank you for running and having the courage to run.
Yes.
I mean, the advice is,
so much to talk about. It's kind of incredible and so much work to do.
Yeah.
But we are here and we are ready to do it, and we need people to come help us. So there's a lot going on in the Illinois Green Party. We are really, we've got great ideas. We formed working groups in our last meeting. Things are happening. So
I'm hoping Chibu will decide to run again. Really an amazing candidate there too. And again, let's do what we can. Those people that do have the courage to run and the ability to run, it's hard. Let's really be kind to them and help them, and another thing is we really do need to build more community. And be kind to each other. The only way we'll grow is if we, again, willingly accept and embrace people that want to come into the party. We can't be like, some people are to Peter Dow, right? And say, you've opened your eyes, but you know what?
I know.
You're dead to me because of what you said in the past.
Right.
Yeah. When people are right, they're just right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm getting the same kind of. We don't have time to go into this, but the same kind of pushback when I posted about what Scott Ritter said about the long-range missiles going into Russia, and he's like, "Oh my God, this could be nuclear war, and it's all over." And I'm like, he may have done other things that I don't know about. Some people don't like him, some people do, but I'm like, he's not wrong about that.
Yeah. He's makes
It's one bad decision away from most of the world being gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So and we didn't talk about your band.
Oh, do you guys want to hear about the band?
Yeah, in the last minute, and then I guess we should sign off because it's been 2 hours.
So
and everybody like and subscribe.
I guess that came up during the research for the interview here, that I am a I like to say when people ask me what I do for work, when people ask me what I do for a living, I talk about music, frisbee golf, kayaking, and politics. That's not what I do for my work, right? Like, those are different things. But I do music. I play saxophone and flute. And there's actually an activist marching band here in Maine called the Ideal Maine Social Aid and Sanctuary Band.
Nice.
Should probably, I don't know.
Well,
you can look them up on Facebook.
Okay.
Ideal Maine Social Aid and Sanctuary Band.
That's
And
a fun name.
I try to get them to do a smaller name, but so the idea is that, we're it's like a New Orleans kind of band, marching band, where we'll go out and do protests, like we've done with Lisa Savage at the State of Maine Air Show. That's we're there at the front playing these anti-war songs like Down by the Riverside and Saints Go Marching In and things like that. So yeah, that it's a fun little outlet, and whatever you can do, whatever you can do to like kind of let's make this fun. Let's make what we're doing
fun, you guys.
Right.
It really is. I do have one comment I got to put up though. Love is the most radical thing of all. In the face of climate catastrophe and world war, choosing love is radical.
Love it. So, run on that.
Yeah.
Run on that.
And if folks don't know,
the Illinois Radical Green Party.
There you go. And if folks don't know my music, I'm also a social justice songwriter. I do other stuff too, but so you can find me out there in the interwebs. But,
nice. Well, thanks for coming, and you can hang on for a bit if you want to talk a little bit after. But I think Scott probably has to go. Scott, are you ready to play us out?
Yeah, and this is one of my songs that I guess is becoming our anthem. So,
Rising up,
everybody.
It's an uprising. It's an uprising. Rising up, uprising, rising up. It's an uprising.
There it goes.